Hey, this shit was really heavy this week.
Dude, okay, so I read the first two, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, that was really heavy. Like I told you, like I was crying and whatever. And then I was like, man, I don't remember what the next arc is. And like as I was reading it, I was like, oh no, I remember. And then like it just kept going and I was like, I don't remember this. Oh no, I remember. It was a lot. It was a lot of
Yeah, yeah. I cried a good bit this week with the books. I was like, holy shit. And then the way that you
I
ended it, where you chose to end this week's reading, I was like, this is maybe the meanest thing you've ever done in our friendship.
to be fair, it's the end of the arc. It was like a 6 issue arc or whatever. And the next
Hmm.
one's the next arc. So you
It
can't.
says it says to be concluded, and I was like, oh, is this a mistake? And then I went over to the next one, and it was like part one of three, and I was like, nope, it wasn't a mistake. It was a very deliberate choice.
It wasn't a choice. It was just to be able to have things to read for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, true, true, true.
Welcome back to the Caffeinated Comic Club. This is where Gare and I discuss comic books and other pop culture references.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is a spoiler podcast.
Heavily spoilered. So like we get into nitty-gritty details. So if this is your first time reading Fantastic Four by Mark Waid, or if you've never read it, we're about to tell you what happens. We're about to
And
be
if you
real
haven't read
honest.
it, you should. You
Yeah,
should
pause
read
it.
it. It's a
Pause
good
it right
one.
now. Leave us there. Leave us up. Actually, you know what? Turn the volume down, let it play while you're reading, and then go back and start it over. We'd get 2 listens that way. What are you drinking today, Marsh?
I actually have the lime Alani.
You found it.
My mom actually brought me some. She has a whole bunch at her house, and I told her I hadn't tried it yet, and she was like, "I'm gonna bring you some." So here, you know what? We'll do a taste test together right now because I haven't had one yet. All right. Ooh,
Yeah, she's
it's
interesting,
like
isn't she?
it's like a Sprite, but like a creamy Sprite. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, I was about to say, do you like have a little vanilla like forward flavor coming
Yeah.
out of it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. I've
I
been
don't.
I've been making cocktails with it and adding like dirty cream to it
Ooh.
and gin or vodka or tequila. I've tried all three.
I
Yeah,
also
it's
have
very good.
this peach edition of the Red Bull as well.
She's back.
I haven't had
White
caffeine
Peach is
today.
back.
White peach is back, and I have my small little bottle of water that I've already drank. Gare, what are you drinking this week?
Water. I'm feeling pretty under the weather today, so I was like, I don't really want to add too many like additives to like my body right now. I have been nursing this diet Pepsi since about 7 a.m. this morning. We've made it to here. It's one because it's
That's
disgusting,
good.
and two because I don't want to have too much going on in my body. So mostly big water. But yeah, I
You're
don't feel
so
great.
wrong for that.
How about how gross diet Pepsi is to me?
Yeah, yeah, you're so wrong for that. I got
I
my
so
pages super wet with that stupid thing.
Slush will get you every time. Every time. Listen, I support your Diet Pepsi journey. I really do. I hate that I'm having to deal with it right now because it's my sister's favorite soda and I stole it from her yesterday.
I don't necessarily like Diet Pepsi. I like Pepsi Zero, but that's fair.
Two very, very different flavors. Two
Yeah,
very different
no,
experiences. I always tell people, like when people are like, you can taste the aspartame in a Diet Coke, I'm like, no, you're thinking of Diet Pepsi because that is just aspartame in a can. Like it's foul. Foul.
it's
But
delicious, is what you mean.
there is caffeine in it, so it helps. But yeah, I have the next 7 days. I have a show that I have to do every single day. So like I have to
That's so crazy to me.
sing every day. So I'm trying really hard to be really good to my voice. So this episode might be a bit shorter because my recap of the issues, my notes are a lot shorter than they usually are. But thankfully, we have Marsh here who has the books in front of her and can jump in if I miss anything, which I will purposely. There were moments where I was like, oh, I need to talk about that, and I was like, no, Marsh will take care of it. Marsh has it. You know this book like the back of your hand. Before we dive into the 8 issues, what are you pulling this week?
Okay, so this week I have in alphabetical order because that's how Comic Geeks does it. I have Absolute Batman number 19, which made me realize I need to reread the last 2 issues because I don't remember what the hell is going on. Batwoman number 2, End of Life number 3, Nightwing number 137, Planet of the Apes versus the Fantastic Four number 3, Racer X number 6, and Ultimate Wolverine number 16, which is the last issue, thank God, of Ultimate Wolverine. It started off so hot, so good, and it's been so up and down, and I'm just glad that it's over.
Who's writing that?
Condon, one of my favorite writers, is writing
I know.
it.
I
It
know.
hurts my soul. What are you pulling, Gary?
That's a pretty solid list, though, to be fair. I
Yeah.
am pulling Absolute Batman number 19. Yeah, I am. Everyone is. New Titans number 34. Even though I hated the last issue, really bad, I'm giving it a chance. Batwoman number 2, very excited about that. Is that it for DC? Oh no, Supergirl Day is next Saturday, isn't it?
Yes.
I have a show. That pisses me off. Maybe
I
can
say
make
that
it
I
work.
have no idea.
I think it is. That's all I have for DC. For Marvel Ultimate Wolverine, also glad it's ending. X-Men United number 2, Magic and Colossus number 3. I will not be picking up Alias Red Band number 2 because I don't need any more fart jokes, Jessica Jones. Inglorious X-Force number 4, Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutants number 3. Good Lord, X-Men, calm down. And then for Image Comics, nothing. So
I don't think anything comes out.
yeah. A lot is coming out, just nothing I've ever read. Ghost Pepper. Who reads Ghost Pepper? Andrew? I think Andrew loves Ghost Pepper, right?
I think he reads it. I read a little bit of it. It was just one that ended up on my chopping block. It was actually really good. I was trying to save money, and then
Yeah, I feel that.
and then I'm not saving money because I'm just buying other books instead. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine here. We're fine.
I feel that as well. We are both in the same boat when it comes to that.
Yeah, because next week is gonna be rough. I'm looking a little forward, and that's gonna be a rough week for me.
See, now you got me wanting to know.
Is it gonna be a rough week
Superman.
for you too?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it is. It is. I'm excited
I didn't
though
pre-order that one.
because I didn't either.
Pre-order
but
because they're gonna have
hopefully,
like a million copies.
yeah, that's the thing.
They're gonna have a million copies.
People are like, these stories kind of suck. And I'm like, that's because they're not being sold for the stories, babe. They're being sold for the covers, and you fell for it. Just like I did, and just like everyone else
That's
did.
true.
But I will say, though, like, one of the stories from the last one that came out 2 weeks ago or whatever was actually really good.
Mhm.
I have found that with a lot of those, there'll be like one really good story in it, and then the rest is just kind of ass. Like the Tom
Agreed.
Taylor Redondo Nightwing one with Wolverine was really good.
Yes, that's how I feel about a lot of like big like extra, anniversary editions or whatever, just like the big event issues that come out. Like Green Lantern 600 came out recently. It was fine. There was one really good story in there, and the rest of it was kind of it existed. But Kyle Rayner's back, so that's all I care about. If we're really gonna get down to it.
So you say Green Lantern. And like I've been wanting to like get into Green Lantern, but then you just said 600 and I was like, "No, I'm okay." Like that's so much.
You don't have to read all of the Green Lantern, right?
Have you met me? Have you met me? It's hard for me.
mean,
Like my brain is like, oh, this arc was really good. Let me go to the very beginning. And then I'm just mad for like months as I wade through it. And I'm just not going to do that this time.
how do you
I
think
need someone to tell
I'm
me
feeling right now?
with the X-Men? I know.
Oh,
I know.
no, with Daredevil.
Oh, with Daredevil. Listen.
Daredevil is wild.
I love how creative you are. I love that you committed to this idea and are following through. But as I watch you every day, I'm like, could never be me. I support your journey. I really do. I
actually didn't make a video yesterday, but I did read it. I read it late last night because I had this Fantastic Four was more important, and then I read the Fantastic Four versus the X-Men, which also took precedence over everything else this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh no, I have to read Daredevil. And I was like, but I have to read Fantastic Four first because it's for the podcast. So I read Daredevil. I read it at like 1:30 in the morning, and I was like, the video can wait. This issue was super mid anyway, and it's just gonna be like, they fought a lot. That's literally what happened. Like I can't even explain to you the plot because it was just a lot of fighting. It's gonna be like, oh, they introduced this villain, this happened, and they fought a lot. In the end.
Do you know how much that video would eat though? Because you would be like, I read this today. They fought a lot. And that's like you ended the video there. The amount of boys that would be so mad. Engagement farm, mama. My X-Men videos that I've been posting, like the last one I posted, which was I captioned it. I was like, I'm gonna try to caption this in a way that purposely makes people mad. just to see. It has 160,000 views on it right now. Because I was like, characters
That's crazy.
we will never see in the MCU, and then I put one in there that's already in some leaked concept art because I knew I was like, these men are gonna lose their fucking minds. Hey, and they have, and I'm like, thank you. I have gained 100 followers.
That's so crazy, dude.
Listen, the algorithm is insane, and boys are so predictable. I love you, boys. If you're here listening, I am a boy, but we can all admit that there are some boys out there who just love to fight, and why not profit? I say
I'm gonna
profit.
hire you to run my social media now.
Hey, I did
Here,
it
I
for
need engagement.
7 years for a major corporation, so I know how
That's fair.
to farm. I'm just like, see, my
That's
thing
fair.
is though, while it's funny and I appreciate like it boosting my algorithm, I hate the comments. I'm like, please leave me alone until I'm
Yeah,
not. And then
that's
I'm
fair.
like, you know what? You're gross and also stupid. And then I block them so they can't say anything mean back to me. Anyway, speaking of
That's
rage
fair.
baiting, do you want to talk about this week's Fantastic Four? Because I was rage baited a few
Yeah.
times with this arc. When I wasn't crying, I was mad.
I'm sorry. Did Reed Richards rage bait you?
Certainly. You know, last week I spent 2 hours and 12 minutes talking about how much I loved him. 2 hours and 12 minutes. And this week
Yeah.
I was like, come on, dog. Come on, man. Like it's really
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the books. I really enjoyed the book this week. But I cannot imagine reading it live because the arc that kept me angry, that went on for 7 months in real time. And that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's
Imagine.
crazy.
I mean, obviously, I didn't read it right in real time,
Mhm.
but like, it's just, yeah, yeah. I would have been so angry at
Mhm.
Reed. You have no idea how angry I would have been. I've been like, bro, get your head out of your ass. What
I
are we
did as
doing?
I might have dropped the book. Honestly, I feel like people probably did drop the book.
That's fair.
These woke people coming in and making Reed Richards evil. Sorry. Let's start with
They
issue
didn't make
501.
him evil.
No, they didn't, but it sure felt like it sometimes. Certain lines that were said. We'll
That's
get there.
valid.
There is a line that I literally put the iPad down and I was like, is this a prank? Am I being pranked by Marsh right now?
I think I know the line. I
You
think without
probably
even knowing,
do.
I know it.
You probably do. Who's it about?
The line is
Yeah.
about Sue.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I know what line it is.
All right. We'll stop rage baiting you guys by just talking around it and we'll get started. We're going to start with issue 501. Last week, Franklin was in hell and Doctor Doom was being crazy and they beat him and then they got Franklin back from hell. That's your recap. It's been less than a week since this happened. Things are bad. Really bad. It's even written on the page that things are really bad. Franklin is dissociated and not talking to anyone. He keeps drawing monsters from hell in his notebook. Sue is a wreck, trying to get him to talk to her. They even have a doctor come look at him, and the doctor's like, his brain basically has shut down just to stay sane because of all the things that were too much for his 7-year-old mind to handle in hell, and that all they can do is love him and hope that he comes around. So this is quite literally what like the mind actually does in real life to victims of like severe trauma, especially when they're children. They will like completely put the thing into a little box in the back of the brain and either make you completely forget it happened or turn you into like a little child zombie. It is horrific and it was very hard to see in these issues for me. I was very sad. I had to read this issue 3 times because it just had me so like high up emotionally that I wasn't really processing what I was reading, so I had to read it 3 times, if that explains anything to you about where I was reading this book. Reed's also acting pretty traumatized and out of character. He's being kind of cold. He's angry. He's being very quiet. Sue and Ben decide to take Franklin out to like this pier. What would you call this? Like boardwalk situation where there's like a theme park with like rides
I think they
and
went to Coney Island.
okay, period. They go to Coney Island.
I think it was actually
Exactly.
name dropped. Yeah.
Okay, period. So Sue and Ben take Franklin out to Coney Island to try to make him feel normal. And while they're out there, Johnny asks Reed why he won't go out with them. And Reed tells him that the sight of his face disturbs his son, which was really sad because if y'all don't remember, half of
That
Reed's
is
face
so
is
sad.
completely destroyed now. So sad, ridiculously sad. And I understand why Reed is angry at this point. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I'm giving him grace at this point in the journey. So Sue and Ben spend
But
the day
he's
with
like
Franklin.
super broody though. Super
is
broody.
He is very broody. He's very, very broody. And so while he's brooding in the basement, Sue and Ben are spending the day with Franklin at the boardwalk where there are carnival games and rides, and they just try to give him a nice, like, childhood experience, and nothing's really working. He, like, just looks miserable. They've got him in, like, a balloon crown. They've won prizes for him, and he's just sitting there, like, expressionless. Back in the lab, Reed's working on stuff when Johnny comes in with Valeria, and Johnny hands Valeria off to Reed and tells him that he has a plan. He grabs a laser rifle and then is like, come on, let's get in this time machine. And Reed's like, you're not supposed to touch the time machine. And Johnny's like, I don't care, come on. And they go back 20 years in the past to Hungary, where we see a young Doctor Doom and his Valeria spending time together romantically at a tree. In the present, we're still trying to get Franklin to feel anything. Sue is playing bumper cars with him. She takes him on the Ferris wheel, on a carousel, and still nothing is working. Then this creepy, gross-ass man tries to hit on her, and she's like, leave me alone. And he's like, he says something about doing some magic, and she's like, you want to see magic? And goes alakazam and makes Ben's face become visible, because at this point, up to this point, Sue has kept Ben invisible the whole time, so they don't draw a lot of attention. And so because she brings Ben into visibility, everyone suddenly surrounds them and starts begging for their autographs. And Franklin is freaking out, and he starts hitting people with his toys, and he screams, get the away from us. I'm assuming he said fuck, because they marked it out where you couldn't see what he said. And that's how the issue ends.
So angry.
The first thing he says the whole issue. Yeah, he was very, very angry.
Look at him.
Ben's face,
baby.
Ben's reaction. Also, I'm glad you showed that. It makes me so sad to see, like, the holes in Ben's rocks from the fight with Doctor Doom.
Right? Yeah.
I'm like, when does he heal?
So I really like I said last week, I really like how Wade shows us kind of the emotional fallout from everyone. Like Franklin is out here dealing with his inner demons still. Sue isn't sure what she's supposed to do. You kind of see that Ben is also kind of suffering, but like in a different way. Not only just from the outside of his rock body, but like as we get further into the next issue, we find out he's also suffering mentally as well. Reed is also suffering because physically and mentally again, because Doom came and, took his child, put him in hell, took Valeria, put his whole family, like basically tortured them. I just really love emotional fallout issues. I know that this was a rough read for you, and it was a rough read for me as well, probably in a different way, but I just think it's something that doesn't happen all that often in comics or even really in media at all. And so the fact that they were able to basically capture all of this emotion in this book, I thought was pretty amazing.
Agreed. And like you even warned us last week that it was going to be pretty severe emotional fallout. I did not expect it to be as deep as it is, which makes me want to find more of Mark Waid's stuff, because like we talked about, we love the nitty gritty character work and stuff. And like for him to touch on specific mental health things that really like the Franklin dissociating in the way that he is and the compartmentalization, that's rarely ever touched on in media at all. Because oftentimes it is associated with really, really traumatic childhood events that don't get talked about a lot. And so to see it on the page, like for me, I felt very seen in a way, because that was something that I dealt with as a kid. Yeah, it's just like, again, like you said, you don't really see this a lot in comics or any other media. So I am very interested in reading some more of Wade's other stuff, because mental health is a pretty big deal, and it's still very stigmatized even in the year 2026.
Agreed.
So issue 502 starts with Franklin still absolutely crashing out, still hitting people in the crowd. Ben has to scare everyone away basically to get them some space. Someone calls the police, and Franklin just continues yelling at Ben and Sue, basically telling them to stop pretending that this is the way that everything is supposed to be. He's like saying, don't you care? Get us out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. And Sue and Ben have no clue what he's talking about. Oh, the cops eventually do show up to see what's going on. They have their guns drawn, by the way. I was like, whoa. You already know it's the Fantastic Four. Why are your guns drawn? There's a child. Crazy choice.
I do want to step back for a second and talk about the talk that kind of Ben and Franklin have, because Franklin started talking, right? But the first thing he said is, get the fuck away from me. And Ben's like, well, you're saying something, that's progress. I know you went through a rough patch, pal, but we all want you to be all right again, and we ain't giving up on that. And then in the next panel, you just see Franklin scream a liar to him, because and then in the next panel, Franklin's like, you did give up, and now you don't even try, and I'm the only one who cares. And again, everyone is confused. No one knows what's going on. And Franklin, Gare said, he's just like, you keep acting like this is all okay, and then I'll let Gare kind of take it back.
So yeah, the cops have shown up with the guns, and Franklin screams, "Get the fuck away from!" He says, "I already said, get the fuck away from us," to the cops.
He's a rebel. Leave him alone.
He is a rebel. Ben tries to alleviate the situation by telling the cops, "Hey, he is traumatized. He was in hell for real. Like, not even joking. No cap. He was in hell." And in this moment, we see Ben and Sue realize that in Franklin's mind, he's still seeing hell all around them. Even though they're all together and not there, he's still seeing hell. And we see on the page, yes, Ben and Sue looking at Franklin while there are demons and fire behind them. The cops that he sees are not cops. They are, in fact, those demons. This was so fucked up. So fucked up. I was like, hey, this is too much for this kid and for me. Thankfully, we immediately cut to 20th century Europe, where Johnny and Reed are watching young Dr. Doom and his girlfriend, and Johnny hands Reed the gun from before. He says that, "I want you to think about Dr. Doom and how he's going to grow up to become one of the most ruthless mass murderers in history unless you pull that trigger." It's that time travel trope, like Doctor Who, let's go kill Hitler type thing. What would happen if you went back in time and killed this horrible, horrible person? Like, what good would come from it and what bad would come from it is the question, you know?
From all of it, though, I can only think of only good things that might happen if Doom wasn't around. But but like you said, it's just like the trope. Like, what happens if we kill Hitler? Does somebody else come that's worse? We don't know. But like in the moment, it seems like it would be a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you want him?
No, but only because I have consumed a lot of time travel content, and my first thought was Franklin and Valeria won't be born if they kill Doctor Doom. Like, and I already care enough about them that I was like, I don't want this, you know?
Right, though. Franklin might be around, but Valeria wouldn't be around.
Yeah, but it also would have significantly changed the timeline. And like, maybe Sue, also, were Sue and Reed together before they even met Dr. Doom? I don't know. I don't know what happened in the past. I was just afraid that like, maybe they wouldn't even get together if they weren't under the duress and stress of Dr. Doom. See, this is a thread that we could pull for hours.
I don't think that they were, because they were in college, and I know that the age gap between Sue and Reed is quite large. I know that Ben and Reed were at college together, and that they were roommates. So I know that.
And they were roommates.
But I don't, and there was one bed. I don't know. I don't think that they were, but now I'm just going to Google it real fast. Yes, okay, I was right. No, they did not, because Sue is significantly younger than Reed. So, no, they did not. So you're right. They might not have met. Who knows? There's a lot of things that could have happened.
So yeah, Johnny has proposed this question to Reed. Like, will you have a chance to take out this man before he causes all of this pain to us? And Reed is like, no, I can't. I can't murder a man in cold blood. And Johnny's like, I know you can't. Surprise. That wasn't the point. The point was to stir up all that rage and hate inside of you so you could start keeping it where it belongs, on the outside. And then Reed's like, you know what? You're right. And he pulls the trigger, and we see the gun go off in the direction of Dr. Doom. Cutting back to Ben and Sue. But the way that they do this, I'm like, you bitches. Come on.
Also, I really did like, though, that was really smart of Johnny, though, to get him to keep from keeping it inside to like let it out. No, I don't think that he should have taken him to Doom in the past and had him try and shoot him. I think that's a terrible idea. But I do like the thought from Johnny, not the execution.
See, I meant to touch on this when we were talking about, like, when you were talking about, we see like how Reed is struggling, how Ben is struggling, how Sue is struggling. Johnny is very much at that age of like 2021 where he's figuring out what it means to be a man. And so everyone around him is kind of crumbling. And like, while we don't hear this on page, like there's no dialogue about this, Johnny has kind of taken on like a I don't want to say leadership role, but a protector kind of role in this scenario where it seems like he's trying to hold everything together. Like, he's like, I know I can fix Reed. Reed's down and out. This is my 21 brain fully not developed yet idea. Let's go to the past and kill Dr. Doom. Like, this is going to make Reed feel better, even though that's not what we're really going to do. this might help him. And it's so out there and far-fetched that it kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was in hell too. He got his leg fucked up and he's not processing like the stress or trauma of that because he's too worried about everyone else. And I was like, I love Johnny and I kind of wish that they would have given us a little bit more on what he was feeling through all of that, you know?
You know what I just realized after you described it all to me? I am more Johnny than anyone else in this scenario.
Is that
'Cause
how you
that's what I
handle
do.
crisis? You become the protector?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't worry about what my feelings are, how I'm processing anything. It's more about how can I take care of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, um yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
I relate to that though. Like with everything that happened with my dad, I kind of took over and became like in charge of everything, and I wasn't very emotional until I was like alone, and then I would feel it,
Yeah.
and then I would be like, "It's time, put it back in the box," and continue on. It's just interesting, like how people show up in those situations, you know. So Reed has shot the gun. Back with Ben and Sue, they realize what's going on in Franklin's head and they both try to talk to him to tell him that no matter what, Sue tells him, no matter what, she'll always protect him. And she does this like gesture where she makes the world go invisible around him and he doesn't really have a reaction to it. And Ben is like, Sue, he fucking knows how your powers work. Like he knows that that's just crap. He says to Sue, that's just crap. He knows that the threats are still there, even if they are invisible. And Franklin will never be safe. Like he says that out loud to Franklin and Sue. Franklin will never be safe.
So what I hate about this, right, is I don't know how you grew up, but like I grew up having to grow up a lot faster than my age, right? And like 'cause I was the oldest sibling, so I had to like do a lot of things that you weren't supposed to be doing at like 8, 9, 10 years old or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Franklin already knows that the world isn't safe and like all of these things and that the world is bad and just like things that you shouldn't have to worry about as a kid. It hurts my heart for him. It also hurts my heart for Sue as, you know, as I've brought up before, my Reed is almost 1.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I can relate to Sue being like, I'm going to protect you from everything, you know, no matter what, all of these things. In my brain, I know that's not possible, but I want him to know that it is possible, that I can keep him and protect him. And I want him to be a kid for as long as he can be a kid. I don't want him to have to grow up as fast as I did. I want him to have his childlike wonder. I'm about to cry. I want him to have his childlike wonder for as long as possible, and I just don't want him to have to worry about anything evil in the world until he needs to. And so like this hit me really, really hard just because Sue's trying and she's failing and there isn't anything she can do about it.
Yeah. And like I was pissed. I was pissed at Ben for saying it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that this moment, I feel like plays into a moment that happens later on in the book, but it's not really talked about. But I definitely feel like Sue says something later that's pretty mean. And I feel like she might not have said that had Ben not said this in this moment. But you're right. Fair. Like she is trying she is trying her like damnedest to keep the world as like a safe place in his brain for him while he's still so little. Like Franklin is at the age. Hold on, before I even go into that, you said that like you grew up fast because you were the older sister. I feel like I kind of grew up fast because my older sister has a severe brain injury, and I had to do a lot of things really young that I feel like I shouldn't have ever had to do. But also, you and I are a part of the very, very lucky generation whose brains were developed enough to really process Columbine as it happened, and we got to see, and then also very soon after that, 9/11, we got to see the world at its scariest way too young because it was on every TV, on every single TV with videos and images. And so, yeah, like I commend you for wanting to give Reed a longer, happier, safer childhood than we got to have from our specific circumstances and also our generation's circumstances as well. And fuck you, Ben, for being mean to Sue.
I do think it will be harder as he grows up, right? Because social media is everywhere. Anything you can find on the internet now. Anything. It's not the wild, wild west of the internet anymore, but you can still find kind of whatever you're looking for. And so I find that to be a little terrifying, but we'll just figure it out.
And like with AI and voice recognition, like kids can find anything as long as they can talk. you know?
Yep.
Anyways, let's not scare
Mm-hmm.
ourselves to death. Let's just get back into the pod.
Back to Fantastic Four.
Back in the past, Victor and Valeria are afraid and running away after being shot at. And Johnny is like, "What the hell, dude? Thank God you missed them. I can't believe you tried to kill them." And Reed's like, "Bitch, I didn't miss. I did exactly what I was aiming for." And he bends down and picks up a lock of Dr. Doom's hair from the grass. I wrote Dr. Dua Lipa. I don't even know how I did that.
Close enough.
He picks
Close
up a
enough.
lock of Dr. Doom's hair from the grass and says, "Let's go home. I have some plans in mind." Back at the boardwalk, Sue is mad as hell at Ben. And she's like, "Why would you say that in front of Franklin? Just like that. Like, you made everything worse." And Ben is like, "Listen, he didn't believe you." And then he puts Franklin on his shoulders. And then they have a walk. And I'm not going into detail. I'm already emotional about the conversation we just had, so I'm not going to go into detail about this conversation. So if you want to, you can, because I fear I'm not going to be able to talk about it. But basically, Ben gives Franklin his whole history about what growing up on Yancey Street felt like, and then what his life felt like after he became the Thing, how rough his life was, how he had to relearn how to eat. He had to relearn how to do a bunch of things. Every night, he would just pray to die. Without Sue and Johnny and Reed, he says that because of Sue, Johnny, and Reed, he always knew that there was someone he loved there, and so he kept pushing through. And he always knew that it would get better because of them. So through this big long monologue that's a lot more detailed than that, Franklin starts to see the light, and we see hell slowly fade into the boardwalk around them, and Franklin feels better. It fucked me up, and I thought I was going to be able to talk about it without crying. But these were two very beautiful, very, very beautiful issues. And we're not done with them yet, I don't think. Is that it for that issue?
Almost. I do just
Yeah.
want to touch on something really fast.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Ben basically tells Franklin that, yeah, life is hard. And life is hard. But some days are better than others, and sometimes you have people that love you that want you to be around. And some days you have to take it one day at a time. You have to wake up, and it might be the same day over and over again. One day leads to the next day, leads to the next day, and again, you have people that love you. I do want to touch on that. Ben also talked about when Franklin was born, and he said, "I remember the day you were born, Franklin. The radiation in your mom's blood was going to do us both in, or do you both in. We had to fight in the negative zone, and fight a winged guy and a metal-eating dragons and giant flying buzzsaws to find a cure. And it was scary and it was dangerous. Because it was all about you, it was a good memory." And just the way that Ben finds goodness in memories that can be terrible and be kind of horrifying and things like that. I just thought that that was very beautiful. And he also said that my point, and I got this one, is safety ain't all it's cracked up to be. Not if you live a life worth the risks. So he's also kind of saying that, like, yeah, you can be safe and stay in your house and not go and do anything. But going out and living life, having experiences, whether they're good or bad, can sometimes be worth the risk. And as Gare said, these are two beautiful issues that touch on a lot of topics that, again, aren't usually touched on in media or comic books or really anywhere. And I think that Wade and company touched on them very, very beautifully.
No, I agree with you completely. Ben also says that tomorrow can always be better. And I think that that was a beautiful, beautiful thing to say, because like every single person deals with some form of depression or sadness or stress, and I think that's a nice sentiment to always hold on to. The issue ends with Ben writing in his journal. He's been writing in his journal the whole time throughout this, but we get to see him writing in it at the end. And he says that Franklin's getting better day by day. Sue's looking 10 years younger. He says that Reed's in his lab doing stuff that he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's sure that it's going to take him off on a new adventure. And he said that he knows that any of them probably won't ever be the same, but maybe that's okay. And Wade is a menace. Wade is a menace. But I am glad that he wrote this, because it was really powerful. It literally took me like 3 days to read these two issues, because I kept having to be like, nope. And then I had to read the first one over and over again, because I was like, I just can't do it. It's very, very, very good. Just very sad.
And that concludes 501 and 502, fam. We made
It does. Let's dive into issue 503. This is a 5-issue arc, so buckle up. But know that Marsha's going to have to jump in a lot more here, probably, because my notes on these are very general events, because a lot happens. So, Issue
A lot
503.
happens, but not a lot. It's really weird. Anyway, sorry.
There's a lot of like random little scenes that I felt like I didn't need to include, but if you
That's
want to
fair.
include any of them, feel free. Issue 503 opens. We're in the Fantastic Four gift shop at the bottom of the Baxter building. I almost didn't include this because it doesn't serve anything
It's so
other than
weird.
it just wants to
It's
give
so
us
weird.
it just kind of gives us a day in the life there. It shows us all the merch that you can buy, and people have been there for days waiting to try to get a glimpse of the Fantastic Four. And they're like, where are they? Well, we find out very quickly they're actually in Latveria, which is currently under attack by Hungary because everyone now knows that Doctor Doom is gone. And so places are wanting to take it over. So the Fantastic Four show up and protect Latveria. Reed says it's up to them to protect the place until the United Nations figures out what they're going to do, including all of Doctor Doom's technology. Reed does not want it to fall into the wrong hands. So they use the DNA from Doom's hair that Reed shot off. He makes them wristbands that will convince all the security measures in the castle that they are all, in fact, Doctor Doom himself, so that they can be inside with no issues.
That's pretty ingenious. I'm not even gonna lie.
Agreed.
I wouldn't even
Agreed.
thought of that.
I know. I thought it. I was like, okay, sir. He's so smart, though. You know, Reed's kind of smart.
Just a little.
Would you agree?
Just a little smart. Just a little smart.
So as they're walking to the castle, the citizens of the area are perplexed because the Fantastic Four is there. And in their mind, they're evil as hell because Doctor Doom has always told them that the Fantastic Four are evil as hell. And while they're talking about this, Reed kind of insinuates that they need to get used to there being a new sheriff in town. This is the first little moment where we're like, what the fuck you talking about, Reed? What do you mean? Everyone's like looking at him like, huh? So anyways, they continue on. They get down into the Doom lab and they find that Doom's Doombots are transporting a lot of his tech through this like teleportation matrix. And Reed says that it's probably was set up to be automated if he was gone for a significant amount of time, that the Doombots would automatically start hiding all of his tech in this like little portal thing. The Fantastic Four essentially take out all of the Doombots and then they start looking around his stuff. Reed is like, all right, gang, here's all the things that y'all need to do, and let's get this castle under our control. Throughout the night until sunrise, that's what they do. They spend the night going through stuff, setting aside things to analyze for later. In the morning light, they see the villagers burning an effigy of them in the middle of the square in protest.
That's
Sue,
so
Ben, and
crazy.
Johnny, I know, agreed. They were like, we're gonna build a wooden statue of you guys and burn it. Sue, Ben, and Johnny are ready to go the fuck home, and they ask if they can go, and Reed's like, we're not going home, as he raises a Fantastic Four flag to the top of the castle. And that is the end of the first issue of this arc, issue 503. That was a gag. I was gagged.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not Reed. He is being possessed. Literally, I was convinced. I was like, Doom has been in Reed's body this whole time.
Although, can we talk about how jacked Reed is? Hold on. We talked about how jacked Reed is right there.
Listen, pull it down a little bit so you can see him taking the shirt off.
Oh yeah, hang on.
The way they drew that, I was like, they're so slutty. Look at him. Woo. Sorry. He's so hot in this book.
But no, yeah, it just, when I reread it, I was like, oh, this feels very out of character. I was like, what is happening? Why is Reed acting like this?
Yes,
And like, you have to remember
agree.
though, he's also dealing with a whole bunch of his trauma and all of that stuff. But like, he still seems very radicalized in this first issue, and I was just like, what are we doing?
He is
Why are we not going
reacting.
home?
He is reacting to not only what just happened with his kids and Hale and Doctor Doom, but he's also reacting like retroactively to every single thing that Doctor Doom has ever done to them, and it's just built to a boiling point that has taken all logic out of his mind when it comes to this, and has replaced it with this logic that has no empathy at all. It's like when Doctor Doom took Franklin, he like removed Reed's empathy, but only for everything but his family.
Mhm.
So he's acting like he's acting in a way that's you can kind of justify because it's his family, but it's also like, girl, these are not the correct methods to be doing this.
That's true. It's really interesting though, because as I'm thinking about other stories that I read, of the Fantastic Four, I can't really like pinpoint an issue where Reed does acknowledge all of the trauma that Doom has brought upon him and his family. Like, yeah, like it'll get thrown around like in the John Byrne run, like it'll get like talked about. But
Hmm.
like again, like this is like really like the first time that we ever kind of see it super affect him. Unless I'm just not misremembering, which is very possible. Y'all don't come at me in the comments, all right? But I just can't think of another time like that. I mean, except for like when Sue had I don't know how to when Sue lost their second child.
Hmm.
Like he was dealing with stuff like that, but again, I can't think of a time when it was specifically about the damage that Doom has done to him and his family, which is a lot,
So,
y'all.
yeah,
It's a lot.
I get the vibe that Reed is kind of like a let's just keep the ball rolling kind of person. He doesn't seem
Hmm.
like he ruminates on a lot of emotional things. And like we know as like humans that have been through like therapy in the world that like those things build up and will come out when you don't want them to. And that's what this feels like. It feels like he
Hmm.
has compartmentalized so much to the point where there's no longer any room. His kids are involved now and it's all just coming out in a pretty destructive way. Um, so issue 504 starts with the United Nation freaking out, and Shield is there as well, freaking out with them about Reed's hostile takeover of Latveria as they are all describing it. They insinuate that even if his actions are well intended, that they could carry grave consequences for him and his family. As we go through this, we'll get little glimpses of Shield and the UN and what they're planning. So know that I'm describing it as best as I can because it's usually just one page of that shit. Back at the castle, Reed is watching the villagers protest in the middle of the night, while Sue, Johnny, and Ben are asleep, and they have on these little like metal helmets on. They wake up and they don't understand how these little helmets have gotten there. They go to breakfast and they ask Reed what they are. Sue's like, "This looks like some of your thing." And he's like, "I'll explain later. We have other things that we've got to do. Let's move." And he takes them into the village, where the crowds are shouting at them as they walk through the street, saying, "Go home," and asking them what they did with their leader because none of them know what happened to Dr. Doom. This is where the gang realizes that they can now speak the language of the village. And Reed's like, "Yeah, those headsets taught you the language while you were asleep. So, without their
That would be
permission,
so cool.
it would be really, really cool."
I don't
He
care.
teaches them a
I
new
don't care. That's
language.
so cool.
I would, I
So
would
cool.
love that. And Johnny makes a joke. Johnny's like, "So you had this, like you had this capability when I was failing Spanish in the seventh grade or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever he's 7
Yeah,
years
whenever it
ago."
was. Yeah.
And so Reed leads them to a building that has no doors and no windows, and they bust through the wall into it. And Reed explains that Doom needed this building set outdoors for ventilation because he didn't want criminals and political descendants making loud public scenes when they were dragged in. And he also tells them that the ventilation was for a crematorium, and this is where we see basically a torture room with a guillotine covered in blood. This is where Dr. Doom would execute like dissidents in the town. Pretty fucked up. You can't see it. Nobody in the town knew what was inside this building. So Reed's like, "Sue, will you make the building invisible so that everyone outside can see what their king was really up to?" And he tells the villagers that this was Doom's idea of justice, not the Fantastic Four. And they destroyed the building in front of the villagers. So, like, it's this big, massive reveal with this massive destruction, and the villagers are just horrified and dumbfounded. And Reed gets angry and starts screaming at them and says, "Ask, why aren't you cheering for us? You should be cheering." And he like stretches his arm out towards a villager in a very aggressive way, and Ben grabs his arm and stops him, and Sue's like, "Family meeting now, back to the castle." And so they go back to the castle. And Johnny reminds them that all these villagers have ever known is Doom as a benevolent leader because Doom has always controlled the media. He's always controlled the narrative, so they always thought that he was a good, peaceful leader to them. And them blowing up a building wasn't the best way to introduce themselves as the new leaders of the country.
That makes sense.
Exactly. Reed then is like, "You know what? Valid. Follow me." And he leads them down into the basement and past a series of booby traps to find Dr. Doom's stockade of nuclear weapons hidden under the castle. Like, y'all, hundreds and hundreds of nuclear weapons. Reed tells, yes, show
For the
everyone.
visual learners here.
horrific. Reed tells them that he's being so serious about this because he knows that Doctor Doom will eventually come back, and he doesn't want all of this stuff left for him so that he can continue to harm their family. He is over it, he is done with it, and he wants, when Doctor Doom comes back, for him to realize that they were the ones that left him with nothing. And that's where this issue ends.
So I think it's cool, like I said, that we're touching on all of these different things. And yes, we had the two emotional ones before we got into this arc, but now we're kind of seeing where Reed's coming from, right? Like he had the depression in the first two issues, but now we're seeing the full on trauma from Doctor Doom, right?
Mm-hmm.
They think he's been gone multiple times, and he comes back stronger, badder than ever, all of these things. And Reed is just kind of like, how can we keep him from having power when he comes back? Taking all of his weapons, taking his castle, taking his money, and distributing it back to the citizens.
And turning his citizens against him, too.
Correct.
All the power he has from all of their love.
And I understand it, right? I get it, but like we talked about kind of already, he's doing it not in the correct way. He's doing it from a trauma place, not from a logistical place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because Reed is always logical, right? He's always logical, usually. Doesn't usually lead with his heart, but usually somehow the logic and his heart always come together. But in this, it's just a trauma response because he knows Doom will come back, even though he's in hell. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's cool kind of seeing how Reed responds to it. Like, I don't agree with it, but I think it's interesting to see how he responds to stopping Doom when he eventually comes back.
Yeah, he's very angry, and he's honestly scared out of his mind that this cycle of pain is just going to continue. So he is acting really forcefully because he doesn't want it to happen anymore. He's over it. And I can't really fault him for it either. Even if the methodology is wrong, he just needs to talk to people about it. Like, that's the thing about all of this, is that he has not talked to them about any of his plans. He's just like, do this, I know best, do this. And so issue 505, the next issue begins with Reed taking Johnny's advice. They do a television broadcast to the villagers, letting them know who Dr. Doom really was and showing them the weapons that he had under the castle. He also offers up the villagers a choice to come into the castle and take whatever they want or destroy whatever they want if it will help them feel better and start to trust them more. And so a lot of them do. You see a lot of people come in, take statues, break statues. There's a portrait of Dr. Doom's mother on the wall. Someone tries to stab it and someone's like, no, let's not do that to this woman. And then Reed walks up and just rips it for them, which was wild.
That was wild. That was wild. But he knows how Doom feels about his mom, his mother, right? So if you're gonna get back at Doom, again, don't condone it. Gross behavior, but
understand it. In the midst of all of this, one man comes in with a bomb strapped to him. They stop him, and Reed loses his cool on him. And Ben is like, Reed, what the fuck? You have got to calm down. This is not how we said we would handle things like this. Ben also says that they aren't sure. Throughout this argument that they're having, Ben's like, also, we don't even know if we got rid of 100% of the Doombots. Ben keeps bringing up the Doombots. He's like, they could be anywhere, hiding, and we need to be on the lookout for them. And Reed's just like, yeah, right, ...
Of course.
Throughout all of this. We then have a brief check-in with the United Nations, who are still figuring out how they're going to respond to Reed taking over the country. That's it. Just reminding you guys that the United Nations are still around. Back in the castle, Reed's behavior is really, really, really bothering Ben. So he decides to have a conversation with him about it, and says that he's basically projecting all of his trauma from what Dr. Doom did onto the villagers of this town. And he's really worried that what happened to him in hell with Dr. Doom messed him up really bad. Not just physically, the scar, but mentally as well. And Sue is listening to this conversation, and Sue gets angry and starts taking up for Reed. And she thinks that Ben is just being really hard on Reed, and so she crashes out on him and is like, we would do whatever it takes to take care of our children. Maybe you'd understand that, Ben, if they were your kids. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I almost started to cry, because the way they drew this moment, Sue realizing what she said and Ben being so hurt by this, fucked me up so bad. And also because I know that he and Alicia in the future have these babies. And so anyways, I just got emotional about Ben. I just love Ben a lot. I'm going to cry a lot this episode. I already know. So yeah, Ben's like, you know what? Whatever. And he starts to leave. He goes, I get it. I'm not blood, so my opinion don't count. And he leaves and he slams the door behind him. And I was so angry. Like, I get it. Again, Sue has already been feeling like so fucked up from everything with Franklin, everything with Reed, everything with Dr. Doom and Valeria, and Ben, her feelings. And they truly are like, would you say that, like, I don't even know how to explain like the way I see their relationships, because obviously Ben and Reed are best friends, but the way that Ben and Sue interact with each other is so gentle and so kind, and like you
Mm-hmm.
can tell they love each other so much. So for them to take little jabs at each other was just really hard for me. But it's so real to
Yeah.
what trauma does to a family and how
Mm-hmm.
everyone is like at their limits in crisis, and our families typically bring the worst out in us when we are stressed about things like this. And so
Yeah.
I was just like fucking boo-hooing, mad as hell at Sue, but also still understanding Sue and being like, she didn't mean it, man. Like, it was so clear. She apologized instantly. And he was just like,
Yeah.
nah, girl, you said it. And left.
It's one of like everyone's had those arguments, right? Especially with family, like you said, like you're just so involved in like your emotions and
Mm-hmm.
how you feel in that moment, and you say something, and sometimes those are like the worst words you can say in the moment, just like that
Mm-hmm.
was, and
Because we know how to cut our family deep.
you know how to cut your family deep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's exactly what she did. And again, and I've done it. I've done it a lot of times in arguments with my family.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say something and immediately be like, "I am so sorry." You know, you have to take that time, just like Ben's
Yeah.
doing. He has to take a step back. And at least, what I really appreciated about Ben in this moment is that he didn't retaliate with something else.
Yeah.
He said what he said and left, because I think that that could have been a bigger argument if they had
Mm-hmm.
wanted it to be.
And he also didn't immediately forgive her. He's like, nah,
Correct.
you said what you said. I'm going to let you live with it for a little while. Like knowing that the
Mm-hmm.
next day everything would be okay. So he does take space. Like you said, he does take space. He goes down to the local pub in the village where he finds Johnny flirting with a bunch of the ladies. Johnny loves ladies. I support his journey. I will say this, while I feel like Johnny is severely underused in this story, and like it's fine. There's four of them. There's a lot going on with Ben, Sue, and Reed. But I was just like, come on, you guys. I've been wondering where Johnny was, and y'all just have him with the girls. Okay. I don't. While
Well,
that trope is very Johnny, I just sometimes want to see more. I just want to see more sometimes. And
he's
like, go ahead.
sorry, he's supposed to be looking for this like insurgence of like
Oh yeah, the resistance. That's what it
people.
is. Yeah.
Thank you. I was like insurgence. I was like, that's the right word. He's supposed to be looking for the resistance. What is he doing? He's flirting with women because that's what Johnny
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. And also
So
he's 22 years old. You know, so like it's fine. So yeah, Ben rolls up on them, and he immediately clocks this shifty guy in the corner of the pub, and he's talking to Johnny, and Johnny's like, I was looking for the resistance, and Ben's like, well, lucky for you, I already know where the headquarters are. Let me show you right now. The shifty guy in the corner overhears and is like, what the fuck? So he runs back to the headquarters. Unbeknownst to him, Ben tricked him, and he leads them directly to the resistance headquarters. And Ben tells, they bust in there and they're like, we followed this stupid guy. We tricked him. And so, but he's like, but we're on your side. And he's like, they're trying to like get in with the resistance and talk to them when all of a sudden the wall explodes and Doombots pour into the room. Ben and Johnny start fighting them. Ben screams it's clobbering time, as one does, and they start to clobber, but they are quickly overwhelmed by the amount of Doombots, and they are subdued, and Reed comes in through the hole to reveal that he is the one controlling the Doombot army now.
I was so listen. I read the story, right? I was still gagged. I am
Yeah.
still so gagged because
I
what do
wish
you mean
that
you're
I had
using
been filming.
Doombots against your own family?
Yeah. Like he's lost it. He like the further we get into it, the more we're like, holy shit, this man is losing his shit. And I wish you could have seen my face when I read it. When I saw that panel of him coming through that wall, I went, come on, man. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on? So, next issue, we open with some of the villagers realizing that the area is slowly being surrounded on each side, north, south, east, and west, by different armies. We see different flags, including America. The United Nations is making its move. So we cut to Reed and Nick Fury in the lab first thing in the morning. Last time we saw Reed, he was helping beat up Ben and Johnny. So I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Why is he in the lab with Nick Fury? And Reed is like, so you're threatening me. And Nick Fury is like, no, Dr. Richards, I'm warning you, and you need to understand the personal consequences to your family if you do not comply with our requests to get the fuck out of here. And Nick says, you've ignored our numerous attempts to contact you, and so you've now backed America into a corner where, to prove we have no choice but to drag you out of here kicking and screaming. Sue comes in at that point and it's like, hey, Nick, what are you doing here? What's going on? And then Nick's like, really, man? Your own wife doesn't know why I'm here? Maybe you should fucking tell her that. And he teleports away. And so Sue's like, oh, he also tells Reed, remember your deadline. And Sue's like, what deadline? Also, where the hell are Ben and Johnny? And he's like, they're being disciplined. And she's like, what? And he's like, follow me.
Yeah.
He leads her into the basement where he has Ben and Johnny in a jail cell. A jail cell.
Okay, listen. This is where I got lost for a minute. I was like, what are we disciplining them for? They did what you wanted them to do. They found the resistance like you asked, and then you brought a whole bunch of doom bots and came in through the wall and then like put them to sleep with their sleep gas or whatever, and now they're in jail. What are we disciplining? For what purpose? Why? Anyway.
I wish I could tell you. I don't know either.
I think it's just to show us kind of how far off the ledge Reed's gotten, potentially. I hope.
He's also acting.
Really
he's pissing them off. Like, he's also acting so out of character to them too. That's another important thing to remember, is that he is slowly making them his villains as well. And so when he and Sue walk in there, Ben and Johnny are slowly waking up, and Ben sees them and he busts out of the jail cell immediately. And he tells Sue what happened. And she's like, Reed would never do that. And Reed's like, yeah, I did it. Real fast.
I did it, girl.
He's like,
I did it.
He's like, I broke up a resistance meeting and I gathered up the participants, and now I'm letting the Doombots make an example of them publicly in the streets. And literally, that's what's happening outside. And Ben's like, holy shit, call them off. That's insane. And Reed's like, it's too late for that. But of course, if you guys want to go save the villagers, go ahead. And so they do. Sue, Johnny, and Ben fly out there. And wrap it up, and then they come back and they're like, what the fuck is going on, Reed? You're out of control. And Reed is like, Sue, I thought you were on my side. And she reminds him that the sides are them versus Doctor Doom, and they've already won. And he's like, you're right. And he hugs her, and he says sorry, and he tells her that he adores her, even though when it came to protecting their children from Victor Von Doom, she was utterly useless. No, less than useless. But at least they have a father that they can count on. And so, not only is Sue upset, but I'm now upset. And I'm sure you are upset too. And also, you listeners are probably upset, because that was one of the craziest things I've ever read in my fucking life. I was like, what is going on?
So I'm sorry, I disassociated for like half a second when you were reading that. Did you say that beforehand that he hugged her, right? And that he said, Sue, darling Sue, I adore you, and then said that line? Because that is the most batshit crazy thing I've ever seen in my life. And then, yes, you're angry, I'm angry, Sue's angry, Johnny's angry, Ben's angry, the listeners are angry. Everyone's angry.
Listen, Johnny immediately posting up and being like, you son of a bitch. Like, he had his fist raised and was about to beat the shit out of Reed for that. I literally, my eyes were so wide, my mouth was open. I could not believe what I was looking at on this. And so Sue is very upset. Johnny's about to fight him. And then he tells them that the UN is about to begin a mass invasion on them in about 40 minutes. That's the deadline. And Sue's like, fuck this. We got to go find Nick Fury. And she and Johnny and Ben fly out of there and off to find them. And this is when Reed decides to reveal his plan to us as the readers. We see him writing a goodbye letter that is very similar to a suicide letter, and that's what I thought was what was happening. And essentially it is a suicide letter.
Essentially it is.
Yeah.
Just in a different way.
And he writes this letter to everyone, explaining what is going on, apologizing for how he's been behaving, and what he's about to have to do. He says that he needed to drive them away so that he would have the space to do what he needs to do. So then we cut to the gang making it to Fury, and they have a conversation with him where he basically is like, if you don't come with me right now, You, like your husband, will be apprehended and charged with and convicted of treason against the United States of America. And Sue burst into tears because she realizes how serious this all has become. Reed is going to be charged with treason against the United States of America. Like, it's a set done
Because he
deal
hasn't told anyone.
yeah, he's not told anyone anything. He's been hiding everything from everyone because he has this plan that he thinks he can get to the end of and it will make everything okay. Back at the lab, we see the goodbye letter on the ground, and the issue ends here. But I'm gonna tell you what the goodbye letter says at the very top of it. It says, "Dearest Susan, by the time you find this, I'll be dead." And that's where the issue ends. We have 2 issues left, 507 and 508, and things are fucking bleak, man. Things are bleak, gagged to the floor by everything that happened in 506. 506 is maybe one of the best written issues of this specific arc. The MVPs of this week for me are 501 and 502. The emotional arc that we get with Franklin. But out of this arc, I feel like the issue that we just read was just incredible to me. Everything else was really good too, but I like that, the reveal, the read of it all, like there was just a lot that I was like, holy shit.
I think currently my biggest issue with the arc that we're reading right now is it feels like it's one issue too long in the setup, right? Like we had like 3 issues of setup, 4-ish. I don't even know how many it is.
Yeah, 3.
I just feel like there's a lot. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah. Maybe it's fine. I don't know. It just felt like 503 and 504 were almost the same issue to me in like the build-up sense. But
a lot of time just walking around Latveria showing us how bad Dr. Doom was. Like a lot of time. A lot of time. I agree with that. I did feel like this one went on a little bit too long. Once it finally got to where we understood the plot, then I was like, okay, good. I'm glad that we know this now. But it did take way too long to get there.
It was all gas, no brakes after we got to where we needed to be honest.
Exactly. Issue 507 opens with Ben begging Nick Fury. I wrote my voice to text. It says, well, my note says the issue opened with Ben begging McFlurry to call it off. Nick Fury to call it off, saying they can't leave McFlurry over here.
Please put a McFlurry on this clip when you put it on TikTok.
He's begging Nick Fury to call it off, saying they cannot leave Reed behind because something is clearly wrong. And Nick Fury is like, nah, surrender. And they're just like, no. And Sue turns them invisible and they go back to the castle. Back in the lab, we see Reed teleporting to hell to get Dr. Doom. He gets him out of the grips of the demons really easily and then takes him to what Reed's been working toward this whole time, a prison of his own making that has like all of the moments where Dr. Doom has ruined their lives on the ceiling, which was wild to me. Reed lets him know that he is going to be the warden to Doom's prisoner. Doom is angry and is like, you would never leave your family like this. I know that this is not real. And Reed's like, I love them too much. Or no, Doom says, you would never leave your family like this. I know that this is not real because you love them too much. And Reed says, that is precisely why I have done this. He says, I've sent you through time. I've exiled you into the farthest reaches of space, and yet you still return. Hell would have been no more unconquerable. You and I both know that in 6 months you would have been running that place. So Reed's like, I took it into my own hands to keep you somewhere where you could never touch my family again. So he also explains that this little prison that he's made is in a Mobius dimension that is infinite, but it's also very, very finite. And it shows Dr. Doom running through a door. And when he runs through the door, he immediately runs back into the room. They're trapped there forever. Doom tries to manipulate Reed and play mind games to him. And Reed's like, Victor, play all the mind games you want. I couldn't release you even if I wanted to. And Doom says that he accepts it, but he thinks that he might have other options available because behind them, a portal is opening. And we see Sue, Johnny, and Ben coming into this prison. Because how? Is it explained how they found him so fast?
So it was supposed to explode, and I'm not sure why it didn't, because he set up a self-destruction in the castle, but it didn't explode, and they said when they came through the portal that they had seen Reed go through the portal. So I assume that time moves differently inside the dimension that they're in, rather than outside of the dimension.
And also, Sue had made them invisible before trying to come back to the castle, so they could have been in the room when Reed was going through that teleport, and we wouldn't have known, because they were invisible. I forgot about that.
I want to touch on 2 things.
Yes,
really
go for it.
It's amazing to me that you can see how much Reed truly hates Doom just in these few couple pages, right? Because after he's kind of like, we're locked here in eternity, essentially, he says to Doom, he says, "You win, Victor. You finally succeeded in separating me from everything I love, in leaving me only hate," which is a diabolical line, first off. But he does.
Mm-hmm.
He has to push away his family, the people that he loves the most, to take care of someone he hates the most in this entire world. So Doom says, "This is a trick. Grim Susan, they would never allow you to forfeit your life." And that's when he says, "That's why I had to push them away." So that's what it came to. And then I just thought it was also really cool that Reed also kind of talks about how he revisits the past a lot. And he said, "I've no clue how often you relive the past. I suspect with some regularity, because, and this may surprise you, I do too. I was impressed by your plans, Victor, to even envision a technology that could literally make contact with dead souls. You weren't setting for interdimensional travel. Not you. You pictured a shortcut to the hereafter. To this day, I'm not sure I accept your theological theories, but despite your protestations, I knew your science was flawed." So again, we're revisiting basically the origin story of Doom,
Mm-hmm.
where Doom makes this machine where he can speak to the dead, and basically reads like, you just wanted a shortcut. You didn't want the true formula to do it. You wanted to shortcut it and make it as quickly as possible. Because of that, kind of, this is why everything happened the way it did. Because Reed tried to stop him, didn't want to hear it, and then afterwards, Doom blamed Reed because he messed with the formula. Therefore, that caused the hate between Doom and Reed. And I love these characters so much. Just how complicated they all are, and how they work together so well, and just they're just so good, and they just have such rich history that
Mm-hmm.
it's just so easy to like get into the nitty-gritty with it. But anyway, they go back and forth for a while, and like you said, his family comes to the portal, and they're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm. And we basically see
And
Reed
Reed's
saying,
very
"Get
upset.
the hell out of here," before Doom escapes. After that moment, we cut back to the village where the United Nations and S.H.I.E.L.D. are marching on the town to get to the castle. When the villagers have a bit of an uprising, they're like, "You didn't care when Dr. Doom was in charge here, so why do you care now that Reed Richards is here?" They say that Reed has earned their trust, but the UN has not, and to leave them be, and they start chanting, "Leave us be, leave us be." So really, I think supposed to be a powerful moment. I feel like I did not get out of it what was intended because we did not really develop the villagers enough for me to do that. We did spend a
Hmm.
lot of time walking around the village with Sue, but there wasn't like a character like the girl that says this. We see her one time at the beginning of the arc. She's a soldier and she's angry, and that's all we ever see about her. And they bring her back 5 issues later to have her have this big moment. And I feel like if there was a through line throughout it, that I would have cared more. And so a lot of the time with this arc, my only complaint was, why am I supposed to care about Nick Fury? Why am I supposed to care about these villagers? Because again, they would just give us little glimpses of them before going back to old crazy pants Reed over here, is what they were trying to make us think, that he was crazy when he had a plan the whole time. Anyway, that's my only complaint this time, is that I was like, now I'm back in the village having to listen to these people talk that I do not know. I just feel like
Right.
that could have been expanded upon a little bit more, since we already had 5 issues, of like little scenes that maybe could have been replaced with moments with what life was like for these people. Anyway, so Shield breaks into the castle and they go down to the lab and they find the Fantastic Four all on the ground like they've just come out of the portal, and they tell them that they're under arrest for acts of international terrorism. They give them a warning to comply when Reed shouts doom, and then we see Sue using her powers to impale 3 of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents together, killing them. We also then see, after that shot, green lightning coming from Sue's eyes, and realize that she has now been possessed by Doctor Doom. And that is the end of issue 507. Gagged. Gagged. But also, I was like, of course it's Sue. And then the next issue starts and Doom is like, of course it's Sue, because she's the most powerful of all of you. And I was like, period. Period, Victor.
Because she
Because it's
is.
the truth. It's the truth. And so she begins fighting all of them. And let me tell you, Sue's possession is this epic, like 5 or 6 page battle that is really, really sick. And we just see her like holding her own, kicking their ass while, I mean, Doom is using her body, but he's using her powers. And Nick Fury joins forces with them because he tells Reed that he realizes that something's really fucked up because his wife is not a killer and he understands that something deeper is going on here. So Nick Fury is like, all right, Reed, I'm going to not be mad at you anymore and join forces and fight with you guys. Sue, go ahead.
So, not to bring back Reed's trauma, because I'm just gonna keep going back to Reed's trauma here, okay? So, like, he had Doom where he wanted him, right? And then his family comes and saves him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, the unthinkable happens to Reed, where Doom has now taken over his wife's body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that has to be terrifying, right? First, Franklin
Yeah.
goes to hell. He has Valeria. They burn Johnny with Hellfire, and gets beaten to kind of a pulp. Reed has his, trauma that he goes through trying to save his family. And now Doom is taking his wife's body and using it to do all these terrible things.
To kill
That's
people.
terrifying.
Yeah.
To kill people.
And so the fight goes on for 5 or 6 pages, and then Sue flies and she like bursts through the ground outside of the castle. And this is the first moment that Doom gets to see all of the changes that Reed and the gang have made. And now he's really, really angry in Sue's body. The other members of the Fantastic Four and Nick Fury catch up and they start to attack Sue. And they overwhelm her, and so Doom leaves her body to possess Johnny. Johnny Doom flies away while they regroup and tries to find his like extra armor and weapons, and Reed already has shown up where Johnny has flown to and is like, we already got rid of all that bitch, and says, face it, Victor, you have nothing now. So then they have a little fight, and Doom then sees the portrait of his mother lying ripped on the ground and gets even angrier. So the fight continues and they start to overwhelm Johnny, and Johnny Doom, excuse me, and Reed threatens to take the oxygen out of the room. So once again, Doom transports himself into Ben's body. This may become a moment where you have to take over. I just want to say this.
Okay.
Doom grabs Johnny with Ben's body and threatens that he could break Johnny in half right now if they don't kill him in Ben's body. And they're like, no. So he breaks Johnny's arm and clavicle. And he says, it's your only choice, Richards. Kill me or Susan is next. And then every other person in this castle. And Reed is begging Ben, I'm going to cry. Reed is begging Ben, saying, I know you're still in there somewhere, Ben. Please take control. And Ben does. Ben does take control. And he says, Reed, I can't stop him. It's too late. Kill me. It's too late, Stretcho. Kill me, please. And I was like, fuck you, Mark Waid, for saying Stretcho. And also just because Ben's gone through so much in the tier while he's begging Reed to kill him. And so Reed uses the gun and shoots Ben in the chest. They crowd around him as he's dying, and Ben tells Reed, you did it, Stretcho. It hurts, but you did what you had to do all along. You couldn't have known that we would have screwed up your plan, but you beat him anyway. Give Franklin and Val a kiss from their Uncle Benji. Love them. Love you all. Don't forget that ever. And Reed, this whole time, is saying, Ben, please don't leave. Please don't leave. And then Ben dies in Reed's arms. And we cut to 6 weeks later while I'm like screaming, crying in my bed. So angry and upset. Knowing that he is alive in current day comics, okay? But I'm still upset that I had to see that and that, like, they've just gone through so much trauma. They've gone through so much in the last, like, 10 issues. And it was so beautifully written, and, like, just the begging, like, the begging of please kill me and the begging of please don't leave and tell Franklin and Val their Uncle Ben loves them. Like, it's just so fucked up, bro. It's just so fucked up.
It really is, but like you also have to think about, like, you're right though. Ben is in current day comics. Obviously he does not die here.
Yeah.
But the emotion that's invoked in the pages that still make you feel those feelings, that's incredible writing. That's incredible artwork. I was crying.
It felt
and
very
I've read this
final.
before.
Like,
and I've read this
very
before.
final.
And so, yeah, it was a lot. And I think everything here is honestly perfect. The writing is perfect from Mark Waid. The art choices here are perfect. Just everything in, like, even this whole issue as a whole is honestly perfect. You see Doom being evil. See Reed pleading with Doom to try and save his family, essentially, because he just keeps taking over everyone's body. And then I think what hits me the most in this issue is that it's Reed that's the one that pulls the trigger because he knows that he has to be the one to do it.
Yeah. Ugh, his best friend, who he already feels like he ruined his life. Now he has to
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. I love Mark Waid. He's a mad genius, but
Yeah, he is.
he makes my feelings hurt a lot.
Yeah. Update. Rory, my crying woke up Rory and caused him distress. So he came to me and was like, I need you to hold me. So that now we have little bug on the pod. Next page, we cut to 6 weeks later. We see that Latveria is now enjoying its first democratic regime ever thanks to Reed Richards doing what he did. We then see Sue has a new voicemail and it's from Reed. Not a lot of information is given here, and I'm sure that everything's going to be explained in the next issue. But in this voicemail, he says that he misses her and he hopes that she and the kids are doing okay on money. He knows that it's tight right now because all the patents are gone, and he tells her that he signed over the last of them to the government yesterday. But in return, they dropped the rest of the charges against them. He says, tell Johnny, and Sue says out loud that Johnny hasn't spoken to her since Ben died. Well, she says since ... I'm assuming since Ben died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Reed says that he realizes that hiding his agendas and not explaining his plans or confiding in her is what destroyed the Fantastic Four. He says that he promised no more secrets, so that's why he's calling her to tell her what he's doing tonight. He just can't stand not having Ben at his side anymore, so he's bringing him back to life. And the issue ended for me on the page by saying to be concluded, and we're going to go into a new arc next week that's 3 issues that I think is going to tell that story. What are your final thoughts on the reads this week?
It was a very emotional read for the most part.
Emotional read.
The middle, yeah, emotional read. The first two obviously are very, very emotional, going through the trauma that the whole team has suffered, including Franklin. And then you get like the couple issues before kind of setting up the next arc and how Reed gets to where he is and kind of why Reed's doing these things and acting so out of character. And then we get hit with another emotional gut punch. You know, it's fine.
Mhm.
Apparently, from what I can remember, from what I'm seeing, because this is still my favorite run of the Fantastic Four I've ever read, but it's like, oh, here, let's have some emotional angst. Let's have some emotions. Let's have some angst. Let's have some emotions. Let's have some kind of okay times. Let's have some more emotions. Let's hit you with more angst. Let's hit you with more emotions, which is great. I love angst.
Mhm.
I am an angst monster.
Me
But,
too.
like, I don't know. These just hit different because they're characters I love so, so much. But like I said, when we were talking about it a few minutes ago, I think that the power in Mark Waid's writing in this is how he can make you feel these emotions for characters that you know are still around, right?
And that you don't know very
And-
well, like in my case.
Right. For you, yes. In your case that you don't know very well. So like I think it's just a testament to his genius and the way that he writes that he's able to invoke that emotion from you from these pages that are 20 years old.
Yeah.
But for me, I love it. Again, it's my favorite. It's my favorite run of the Fantastic Four. So for me, this is always going to be a knockout of the park. I did think on this read though that the arc, the one that we were just talking about, did last maybe an issue too long. But it is what it is, right? But I loved it. I would have hate having to wait month to month for that. I do feel like I read that it was bi-weekly. Yeah,
Well,
it was
that's good.
bi-weekly. It was that
That's
arc
good.
was bi-weekly. So
Because I could not
maybe-
fucking imagine.
So yes, those were bi-week. That arc was bi-weekly, which is a little bit better. Because I wouldn't have been able to wait 5 months, 6 months to figure out what happened. But no, I love it. My only complaint really is that the authoritative action arc just seemed a little too long. And
Yeah.
like you said, the people that they wanted us to care about, the people of Latveria, UN, there wasn't enough time with them, so we weren't able to really feel what they were feeling.
Yeah. That's what I've kind of already like said all of my thoughts as we went along. I thought it was fantastic. The emotional journey that we went on with the first 2 issues and then even into authoritative action with our main characters was a spectacular one. So like it's still a very highly rated book for me. I think that I'm gonna drop it from a 10 to a 9.7, just because of it bothers me. It just bothers me that it introduced us to this girl and the very first issue of that arc, and I was like, okay, this is going to be the audience. And then we never saw her again until the very end, and I was so mad because I was like, honestly, it would have been fine if you'd have just never showed me her again, but you brought her back up and gave her this really powerful moment. But it wasn't powerful because who the fuck was she? You know? And
Yeah.
I just wanted more of her. And also, like, we don't know what editorial was like, and there was a lot of story to be told. Like, obviously, like you said, it like felt like it went on too long. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. But mostly so it can go back up to a 10 next week. There's going to be a little bit of jumping up and down. But no, that's really
That's
truly my
fair.
only complaint is I didn't feel like other people like that were supposed to be important to the arc weren't developed enough. And maybe that's like the Nick Fury, they didn't do a lot of development with him because maybe we should have known. Maybe they assumed that we would have read Avengers. But yeah, I loved these books this week. I cried a lot. I love to watch movies and TV shows that like make me have good cries to get out like emotions, and because it always feels kind of refreshing to cry over things like this. And so that
Mm-hmm.
served a good purpose for me this week. I didn't have to watch sad stuff this week to like feel anything. And I've been really stressed. This is around the time of year that I'm like, okay, I need to watch Sweet Home Alabama, or I need to watch this sad movie that's going to
Mm,
make me cry because I'm so stressed about the show. And I didn't have to do that this week because I read these books. So
you're welcome.
thank you. Are you still at 10 out of 10 for the book?
Probably not. I actually was going through Comic Geeks and actually like rating them out of 5. I had previously, right? They'd previously been ranked or whatever. But I gave a couple of them like 4 stars instead of 5, or like 4.5. So for me, I'm probably also going to drop it a little bit. It's not going to be a 10 out of 10 anymore. I'm probably going to drop it a little bit lower than you did too. So just because I felt like the authoritative action just seemed to be a little like an issue too long for me, and just how, like we've talked about, like it just seemed like there were some things that were supposed to hit that didn't hit because we didn't spend time with these characters. I'm gonna put it
Mm-hmm.
at a 9.5, just because I know what's coming. It's gonna go back to a 10, but
Okay, period. I'm
so
excited.
9.5 for me.
I'm also a little sad because like it's gonna end so fast. Like we only have
Mm-hmm.
14 issues left now of the whole
I
run.
know.
Just
I
14.
know. It's so
And
short.
yeah, it is. Which I'm grateful for after Gotham Central and Extreme X-Men, but I'm also a little sad because it's so much better than both of them. And it's so short.
Listen, I'm just like I said last week. I said it like a million times last week. I'm gonna say it again. I'm just really glad that I didn't oversell you on it. Like I was so worried when I was like, "Yeah, it's my favorite run." Like all of these things, da da da. Da. Like you were gonna read it and you're like, "This is fucking bad."
Imagine if I'm like, what's your score? And you rated it 10 out of 10. And I was like, I'm gonna rate it 4 out of 10. The way I was I said it on the podcast last week. I was very grateful that it was good. I knew before the first issue was over that I was like, okay, yeah, she did not oversell this. Like it is good. Oh, that first issue and like it introducing us through that little Scherzer guy, the little ginger
hmm
PR guy, so good, so
Yeah, yeah,
effective. He's so
yeah.
Mark Waid's just so smart. Before we go for the week, do you have any pop culture that you would like to recommend to the peoples?
I do actually, and ironically enough, it's more Fantastic Four. Hold on.
What? More
Well,
Fantastic
it's
Four?
I know that's all I read, y'all. Listen, I don't read anything else.
Whoa,
So
whoa, whoa, whoa,
I
whoa! You undersold. It's also got the X-Men. It's also got the X-Men. Sorry, I saw them.
It does. It does. It does have the X-Men as well. Um, I I read actually yesterday or Friday morning or whatever you want to call it. I read, this was not in any order, so I apologize, y'all. I'm getting there. I read the Fantastic Four versus the X-Men. And honestly, I was surprised at how good this was. I think I've told you before that I read an annual that Chris Claremont wrote with the Fantastic Four in it, and I was like, this is awful. He doesn't get the Fantastic Four. He doesn't know what he's writing about. Like, they were in the X-Men annual, and he wrote them, and it just wasn't good. Well, he wrote this 4-issue mini arc, right? And he got them this time. I don't know who he talked to or what he did, but the voice for Reed and just for the whole team and Doom was just so good. So essentially kind of like a small overlook about what happens is we're greeted with Franklin in the beginning of the book, and he's having this nightmare about Reed or the Fantastic Four and the X-Men are like all dead except for Reed. It's just Reed and Franklin. And Reed's holding Sue and carrying her to this altar, and Franklin is kind of like, freaking out. Like, don't put mommy on the altar, or do all these things. And he takes her to this altar, and there's this book that's called, like, The Journal of Reed Through College. And Franklin knows that this book is, like, super bad. And he's like, Daddy, don't open it. Daddy, don't open it. Reed opens it. And then he, like, rips off his uniform, and, like, he's wearing, like, a Doom costume underneath. And it's still Reed. And then he, like, puts, like, a burning mask of Doom on his face. And then Franklin wakes up. So that was, like, the intro to this, right? And then it's basically, the whole story is Kitty has been seriously injured in this mutant massacre, which happens in the X-Men books. I'm not as familiar with what happened. They kind of reference it a couple times. But she's super gravely injured, and Kitty's power is that she can walk through walls or any tangible object. And she basically has done something happened in that mutant massacre where, like, she can't bring her body back to be corporeal. Like, it's just like her atoms are stretching too far apart that she can't bring it back together, and she's eventually just going to dissipate into the atmosphere. And so the X-Men call the Fantastic Four, and they're like, hey, Reed, can you help Kitty? And so basically it's just a whole story about them trying to fix Kitty, but also you have this side story where they find Reed's actual journal because Sue was doing some cleaning, and they find it, and in the journal, Gare, it says that Reed purposely took his family on the rocket ship and made them the Fantastic Four. So then you have that emotional fallout from the family, along with Reed wondering if he truly is that person. And so all of that takes place, and then they go to Muir Island where Kitty is, and he's like so in his head about it. He's like, I can't help her. We have to leave. And they left, and they got in kind of like a big fight with the X-Men. And then, of course, who shows up next? Doom. Doom shows up, and it's like, I can fix Kitty. And I'll leave you with that. If you want to read it, you can. If you don't want to read it, you don't have to.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read it. That's a wild thing for Claremont to do. Be like, actually, Reed did this on purpose. And I'm assuming that was all like revealed in the first issue?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was, like I said, like I was like, I'm just going to read one issue or whatever. And then I was like, fuck, I'm reading the second one. And then it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I have to go to bed. And also, hold on. I have to show y'all because this issue is like 40 years old. But I need to show you the fresh inks inside this book.
Oh
I read this all like physically, but like look at those inks, dude.
Wow.
Look how sharp those are.
Wow. I wonder if you're the first person to ever read those copies.
I don't know.
I wonder if it was someone like us who just buys a bunch of books and never opens them.
But
you're way better about
like
it than
that,
I am.
So
that's so cool.
Anyway, that's my pitch. If you haven't read the Fantastic Four versus the X-Men, it's really, really good. Like, it's like 4.5 out of 5-star levels good. I wasn't expecting it, but it was actually really good. Longshot's in it. Remember I brought up Longshot the other day? He's in it.
I might read that tonight, actually.
That was my first encounter with Longshot. And then also, Rogue has this like skunk tail hair, and I was very confused.
She does. It's a sign of the times. It's a sign of the times. That is for sure. Rogue, they really gave her a bunch of really bad hair until they finally got to the 90s. Like, there are going to be moments. Like, her Outback hair is crazy. Crazy.
But what pop culture do you have this week, Gare?
So, my pop culture for the week, a recommendation, is going to be X-Men.
Okay, yes. We're staying on brand here, people of the podcast. We are staying on brand.
We are. I'm going to recommend something that I read when I was like 17 years old that I really did not like back then. And then I recently have started rereading it. I'm not done. I'm almost done. But it's way, way better than I remember it being. It is Astonishing X-Men by Redacted and John Cassaday. I'm going to say Redacted. I'm not going to say his name on the podcast. But it is a man that created my favorite television show of all time. It just turned out to be a really shitty man. But this book is spectacular. it is the direct response to the events that happen at the end of New X-Men and the event of Extreme X-Men. So I don't know if you remember, but when we were talking about Extreme, we find out that New York has been destroyed by Magneto and Jean Grey has died.
Yes.
Storm and the gang decide to be X-Cops and they go back to the Uncanny team, while Scott decides to start a new team because Professor X is like, I can't handle all this shit that's happening on Earth. I'm going to let you and Emma Frost be in charge and make your own little team, a little small team, because we need to make the people like us again. So Scott and Emma decide to create a team, and the team is them, Wolverine, Beast, and Kitty Pryde. And they choose Kitty Pryde because she's like America's sweetheart little girl, and they think that people will like them more if she's like the face of the team, essentially, which is wild. But so they're together, they're talking about it. Kitty and Wolverine are not excited about Emma being on the team. Kitty especially is like, you were the first person that showed me what evil was like in this world, and honestly that's how I see you to this day. Like the things that you've done to me, the things that you've done to Storm, the things that you've done to this entire team, you are evil and I don't trust you. And Emma's like, that's why I brought you to this team, because I think that you are the only person who will call me on my bullshit if I start to get out of control. And so, yeah, that's the dynamic that's set up. But in this first arc, it is announced to the world that there is now a cure for mutation. And it begs the question, like, is that a good thing for the world to offer this cure to a bunch of people to become regular humans again? And Emma's like, they're going to force us all to do it. Like you saw what happened to Germany. Like they're going to wipe us out. And I'm not going to go much into it from there, but it does set up an interesting premise with what it's like to be a mutant in a world where there is a cure for this thing that makes you who you are, but also scares the rest of the population. The dynamics with Scott and Emma are incredible in this. The dynamics with Wolverine and Kitty, also Beast. This is maybe one of the first times that I'm okay with Beast, but it's because of the idea of this mutant cure and what the journey it sends him on. I will say my biggest issue when I was 17 was the characterization of Emma Frost in this. And I had really big issues with that. I will say that reading this now, after reading everything that comes after of it with Krakoa and the exceptional X-Men current Emma, I don't hate what they're doing in it in the way that I did, but I will say some of it does feel like was putting on his very specific lens of how he sees women. So that might be hard to read in some spots. Like we know how he took liberties with like Black Widow and Avengers and some of the characters on Buffy. You can kind of see that a little bit. Very much Emma is Cordelia in this book when Cordelia was at her worst. And so that's been my biggest issue, but I will say I have enjoyed where it's gone, and it's not like that the whole time. But it's just fantastic. It's really, really good. I think I have 6 issues left, and I think that if it continues at the trajectory it's going, it's going to be a perfect 24 issue run for me. 25 issue run, because there is a giant size finale. Yeah, it's just everything that they've introduced, like new villains that they've introduced have been fun while still honoring the history of everything that's happened. I feel like a lot of times X-Men writers will come in and write a story and they'll just do a bunch of shit, but they'll kind of make us relive stuff over again with just like a different lens on it. Like they'll tell the same type of story over and over again. This run feels very different. Every arc has felt new and fresh, and you see that with Hickman's Krakoa. Like that's what I loved about the first year of Hickman's Krakoa, is that everything kind of felt new and fresh while still honoring the history of everything that came before it. And yeah, I think it's a really great starting place for X-Men. I will say though, if you haven't read New X-Men, I would say to read New X-Men first. It will be a much richer experience. You can read this, but there's going to be a lot of you Googling, what did they mean by this throwaway comment? So
I gotcha.
But yeah, that is my recommendation for the week. It feels like eating crow because I have been so vehemently against this run since I was a teenager. And
That's funny.
You know what? As much as I can't stand the motherfucker that wrote it, I was wrong. It's really good. He can write really well, even if he is a piece of shit. He can write really well. Listen, I'm Buffy stand till I die. But yeah, that is my recommendation for the week. Do you have any final thoughts before we hit the road? Literally?
I don't think so. I think I have said all that I want to say.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to go back to my Fantastic Four versus the X-Men real fast.
Okay,
I forgot to add that there is some beautiful moments between Franklin and Kitty in those books. So I don't know how much they like interact after this, but like some of the moments between them and this are really, really nice. So
So
even though
while
Franklin's
you
like
were
4 years
reading
old.
it, they have some moments in Uncanny when he's a bit older. But every single time that they have been on page after this event, Kitty will
Mm-hmm.
bring up like their little friendship that they have
Mm-hmm.
that they form in that book. Like the Chip Zdarsky X-Men Fantastic Four Krakoa book, it
Mm-hmm.
centers so much around Franklin and Kitty's relationship in the past and how she is one of the only people that he trusts outside of his family, especially during that time when he thought he might be a mutant. And Kitty really
Mm-hmm.
becomes like a lovely advocate for him in those moments. Just yeah, I'm excited to read that, especially knowing that I'll get to dive a little bit more into their history, even if he is 4 years old. That's wild. I didn't think he was four.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how
He's a little
I don't
baby.
actually know. I don't know how actual old he is, but he's that old. However old that is.
Well, he's 7 in what we're reading right now, and there's I think a 20-year publication difference.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say like 3 or 4, maybe. He
Yeah,
can
yeah.
speak.
The sliding time scale. 3 years have passed since 20 years ago. Well, all right. Yeah, I don't have anything else that I want to add either. So same time next week.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Although technically we will be recording on like Monday night of next week because of the fucking show that I'm about to do.
That's valid. That's valid.
But same time podcast wise for you guys. All right. Bye everyone.
Yeah.